Thank you, Madam Deputy Speaker. I want to take this opportunity, as I have on many occasions over the last 8 years, to pay tribute just before Christmas to the cherry growers in Morialta and other primary producers in particular. And I'll just start by touching on the apple and pear industry, which is very important in Morialta, both the current boundaries and particularly after the redistribution. About 4 weeks ago, in late October, the apple and pear growers in the Adelaide Hills were hit by a concurrence of 5 or 6 storms over the course of a night, and woke up on the following morning to discover that many of them, their livelihood for the next 12 months was put in severe jeopardy. The hail strikes that had hit much of their fruit as it was growing had provided damage to that fruit such that it will be, when it is fully grown, unable to be commercially sold in supermarkets at the level of requirement that the supermarkets place on that fruit to be on their shelves. I was joined by the member for Chafee, the Shadow Minister for Trade, the Shadow Minister for Agriculture, and Anne Ruston, Senator Anne Ruston, the Federal Assistant Minister for Agriculture, and the Minister at the Lenswood Cold Store. And discussed with growers, Susie Green and the staff representative, and Ashley Green, the president of the Apple and Pear. And we visited a number of farms in my electorate. It's devastating for this community, and there are a number of measures which the Liberal Party is taking in the years ahead that will help in this way and help them to recover. We're going to make it much easier for them to get netting up. And of course the farms that had nets up had by and large less damage than those that didn't. Unfortunately, one of the problems on this occasion was that a lot of the farms had nets, but because they'd had issues with pollination, the nets were open. And that's a serious problem. Serious impacts for this community, and we're going to be working very hard over the next 12 months to ensure that particularly 2 things happen. First is that everyone always looks for the opportunity to buy local, and sometimes there's only local produce available, but of course we need to remind people they need to be buying those apples and those pears. And secondly, we need to be talking down to the supermarkets about the grades of apples that they're going to be accepting. If something's got a couple of blemishes on it because it was a hail strike when it was a young fruit, it's still a beautiful apple to eat. And it's important that the supermarkets understand that, and if we need to put some work into public relations for those apples to encourage people to buy them, even if they've got a couple of blemishes, then we need to do that. Now, on to cherry season. I'm very pleased to be an ambassador for Cherries SA. It's a very exciting time. Every Christmas we know it's coming when you can go up into the Adelaide Hills, up Norton Summit Road, or Old Norton Summit Road, or Montacute Road, or the Basket Range Road, and the orchards they're packing sheds, they're taking cherry sales, and you can pick your own. And I particularly want to draw to members' attention, and in fact all South Australians' attention, the cherry map, which Cherries SA has this year put out so that people can experience the day in the hills and know where they can go to try somewhere new. And I encourage all members and all South Australians to try somewhere new. Buy a kilo of cherries this summer. Particularly in the Morialta electorate, I want to pay tribute to those pick-your-own places, Everlong Orchard in Forest Range, Cheron Enterprises in Lenswood, the Forest Range cherries, the Marble Hill cherries, the Plumbers Border Valley Orchards and Stella Creek. For those that have shed door sales and pick your own, or the Organic Cherry Farm at Cherryville, Cherry Time Orchard at Lobethal, the Harrisville Orchards at Lenswood, the Lenanes Orchards, the Leonards at Montacute, and Mason's Orchards at Forest Range. And shed door sales only, Cowling's Cherries, the cherry farm that I've been visiting pretty much every year for the last 30 or so to get my first box for the season. John and Jill Cowling on Old Norton Summit Road. Elamata Orchards in Lenswood, Kenton Valley Cherries, which have a fantastic cafe there. Norton Summit Farm. The Montacute Valley Orchards and the Greens family do a wonderful job, and they also have a cafe and they make their own ice cream. Torrens Valley Orchards at Gumaraka and Watton's Cherries at Uradla. Congratulations to all of those growers who make a really good contribution in our community. It's particularly good news this year thanks to the work of the federal government, and again I thank Senator Anne Ruston for the work she's done in ensuring that cherries can now be taken into China much more easily, so they can be picked put on a plane and sold in China as a result of the work that the federal government's doing in this area. Particularly for an orchard like Torrens Valley Orchards, that's going to mean hundreds and hundreds of extra jobs, lots of exports dollars, but it's also going to improve the market in South Australia for the rest. That's great news for cherries. I hope everyone enjoys their Christmas.